Erik Menendez was born on November 27, 1970, in Blackwood, New Jersey, the younger son of Jose Enrique Menendez and Mary Louise Kitty Anderson. His father was a Cuban immigrant who rose from humble beginnings to a successful career as an executive at Hertz, RCA Records, and later the CEO of Live Entertainment. His mother, Kitty, was a homemaker who battled alcoholism and mental health issues. The family moved often as Jose's career advanced, from New Jersey to suburban Hopewell, and eventually to the affluent enclave of Beverly Hills. Growing up, Erik was the quieter of the two brothers. He watched his older brother Lyle, ambitious, athletic, confident, navigate life under their father's strict and often domineering expectations. Erik later described himself as the quiet kid who grew up trying to keep everything together, struggling with insecurity masked by designer clothes, expensive cars, and a privileged lifestyle still brittle with emotional need. From an early age, the Menendez household was tense. The public portrait of success masked private turmoil. Discipline turned to control. Love often froze behind pressure. Erik has since hinted that abuse began early and continued into adulthood. His brother Lyle would allege that Erik experienced abuse from their father between ages 6 and 18, a claim Erik would later confirm in court under oath. On August 18, 1989, both brothers shot their parents to death in the family's Beverly Hills home. Initially, they claimed intruders were responsible, but within days their lavish spending on designer clothes, jewelry, and vacations drew suspicion. A new narrative emerged. Erik and Lyle had long suffered years of physical, emotional, and sexual abuse at the hands of their father, culminating in a terrified snap. In March 1990, they were arrested. Their first trial in 1993 ended in mistrial. Juries were deadlocked between convicting or accepting the brothers' defense of prolonged abuse. A retrial followed in 1995, where much of the abuse evidence was barred. The brothers were found guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without parole. Erik began his prison life behind bars at the Richard J. Donovan Correctional Facility in San Diego. Rather than vanish, he adapted. He married Tammy Sackerman in 1999 in the prison chapel, a small symbol of hope amid despair. Over the years, he converted to faith, earned a BA in sociology from UC Irvine in 2024, engaged in prison clubs, art workshops, and yoga, and gave prison lectures on trauma and healing. Even while incarcerated, Erik and Lyle's story remained in the spotlight. In 2005, Erik's wife self-published a memoir titled "They Said We'd Never Make It," developing a cult following. Netflix released Monsters, the Lyle and Erik Menendez story, in 2024, followed by the brothers appearing in their own documentary in 2025. Initially critical of these portrayals, Erik later said they rekindled public interest in their claims of childhood abuse. The broadcasters, led by Ryan Murphy and bolstered by voices like Kim Kardashian, brought new attention and new evidence to light. California's criminal justice system responded. In October 2024, the Los Angeles District Attorney recommended resentencing due to the youthful offender status. The brothers were 21 and 18 in 1989, and new evidence of abuse. In May 2025, a judge granted the request, reducing their sentences from life without parole to 50 years to life, making them eligible for parole. A hearing was scheduled for August 21st to 22nd, after which Governor Gavin Newsom would decide. Then in July 2025, Erik's attorney Mark Garagos revealed that Erik was hospitalized with a serious medical condition. Although details are withheld under HIPAA rules, reports indicate he was treated at an external medical facility and remains in fair condition. Garagos has requested a medical furlough ahead of the parole hearing, arguing it's the only way for Erik to prepare properly and attend the hearing in good health. This may trigger the governor's clemency power in advance of Labor Day. The parole board's recommendation remains pending. Erik's legal journey is inseparable from his personal story. He has maintained that his parents, especially his father, were abusive, even incestuous, until he was 18. This assertion was central to his original defense. New evidence includes a letter Erik wrote in December 1988 to his cousin describing abuse, and testimony from Roy Rosselló, a former Menudo member, who recently claimed he was also abused by Jose Menendez. Multiple forensic psychologists and defense attorneys argue these revelations complicate the original trajectory of the case. Prosecutors remain skeptical, questioning whether the abuse was sufficient to justify murder. Alongside the abuse narrative, questions of privilege, entitlement, and psychological unraveling linger. Erik has admitted guilt in court, but continues to frame his actions as the tragic outcome of a fractured family. His introspective letters and interview excerpts speak of love, regret, and an enduring burden more than 30 years in. In prison, Erik's transformation has been stark. He has embraced educational programs, mentoring fellow inmates, and reaching out to victims of trauma through voice and presence. He has studied sociology and restorative justice, connecting his story to broader questions about childhood abuse and rehabilitation. His supporters point to this as evidence of growth, empathy, and readiness to re-engage with society. His attorney says his medical condition makes this a humanitarian issue. Allowing medical furlough would grant Erik access to outside health care and legal counsel, leveling the playing field ahead of the August hearing. Garagos argues that failing to do so would cripple his defense and undermine fairness. Outside, public debate has reignited. Social media movements dub #Menendez release and #Justice for Erik advocate for a chance at parole. Critics note the gravity of the crimes and the threat posed if released. Some question whether compassion for mental health and childhood trauma should outweigh cold-blooded murder. Governor Newsom has tread carefully. He discussed the case with Ryan Murphy on his podcast, but has not yet watched the Netflix series, citing a need to remain unbiased. As Erik and Lyle await parole, the stakes are high. Erik's hospitalization brings new urgency. A medical release could allow him to advocate, prepare, and potentially secure release. Conversely, denial or delay could position him to return to prison health risk and media scrutiny. The parole decision, rooted in questions of atonement, rehabilitation, and trauma, will be one of the toughest faced by California's justice system. Erik's life began behind privilege but poisoned by trauma and ended violently, then reborn in prison through education, reflection, and advocacy. His medical crisis now adds another chapter. Whether he walks free or remains behind bars, his case forces a reckoning. How does society balance justice with mercy, accountability with healing, especially when the lines between victim and perpetrator blur? From New Jersey kid to Beverly Hills defendant, to prison student and accidental public figure, Erik Menendez today stands at the intersection of true crime fascination, mental health awareness, and criminal justice reform. His fate may arise from compassion or caution, hope or fear, forgiveness or retribution. In the end, his story, from alleged abuse to violent crime to legal re-examination, is a mirror of America's struggle with trauma and redemption.